Hello, everyone. Hello. Just before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri people, and the people of the Kulin Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Welcome to the Express Media Awards for 2014. Are we excited? Yes, you should be excited because it's all about Express Media tonight. I'm going to be your host. My name is Ben McKenzie. It is not going to be about me. You may be fooled into thinking it is going to be slightly about me because some of the things I'm going to say about Express Media are stories about me. But that's just my comedic style. Don't read too much into that. Tonight, we've got a whole bunch of stuff happening. It's not just the Express Media Awards tonight. We are also launching issue 99, the pre-centennial issue. Not centennial, but, you know, what other word is there that means the 100th, except, well, 100th, I suppose. But anyway, the pre-100th issue of Voiceworks, which has the theme plastic. So it's issue 99, in case I didn't make that quite clear. And look, you'll hear a lot more about this in a moment, but I've been lucky enough to have a look. And, well, hang on. I can't get it out without... Okay, here we go. It's very, very bright pink. In case you hadn't noticed, it's super bright. So when you get a chance to get your hands on a copy earlier, I'll be renting these sunglasses out for 50 cents a go. No, but it's a fantastic publication. I was very pleased to be involved with Voiceworks for the first time a couple of years ago when I was asked to be interviewed for a piece in the magazine, which is how I met the previous editor, Kat Muscat, and a whole bunch of the other people who've worked for Voiceworks and learned a whole lot more about Express Media and all the wonderful people who work there and all the wonderful work they do. And the new issue is every bit as good as the other ones that I have read. It's fantastic, and you'll hear a lot more about that, so I won't say too much more about it. But tonight also, as well as the Express Media Awards and the launch of Voiceworks issue 99, we'll also be presenting the Scribe Nonfiction Prize and the John Marsden Hachette Award for Fiction and Poetry. So we'd just like to extend our thanks to our patron, John Marsden, who's with us tonight, of course, and also to the sponsors of our awards, Hachette and Scribe, for being here tonight. So we can give them a quick round of applause now. Thank you. Thank you very much. And to kick things off and talk more about Voiceworks, well, I'm going to welcome to the stage Adele Walsh, who is the Vice Chair of the Express Media Board.
Thank you, Ben. I'm here to talk about Express Media, of which I've been a board member for 3 years. Throughout the year, Express Media runs over 100 different programs, publications and prizes, and they can only run because of the passionate, inspiring and tireless staff of Express Media. Our champion and CEO, Steve Lamartina, celebrated the end of his first year as CEO and had an incredibly successful 2014. He oversees a staff of 3 and a huge team of volunteers and interns who are all very valuable to the Express Media, and nothing could be achieved without them. So I want to give a big round of applause to everybody who works for Express Media in whatever capacity. It's been an incredible year of change. We said farewell to the fabulous Leafa Singleton Norton after beautifully serving as Express Media's creative producer for the past 3 years. And this month, we've been joined by Fiona Dunn, big yay, first day, who will bring her own vision and passion to the role. Kat Muscat finished her term as Voiceworks editor in March, having contributed to the publication since her days at high school. Her dynamic shoes have been brilliantly filled by Liz Flux, who will be guiding us into the 100th edition next year with aplomb. New facilitators, Courtney Hocking and Benjamin Riley, join the team to capably lead the Signal Express and the underage teams. We've had an amazing year, and I'm going to quickly go through some of our big achievements. Hologram was officially birthed with the release of Holly Childs and Elizabeth Murray's standout novella-length titles, demonstrating the strength and potential of Australian writers under the age of 30. No Limits and The Loud Earth were launched in May, making their way onto bookshelves and tablets everywhere. Our fantastic state reps around the country organised Voiceworks launches in New South Wales, Northern Territory, South Australia and Melbourne, continuing to expand the reach of this fantastic publication. Dialect was released in September, a wonderful collaboration between Express Media and the Centre for Multicultural Youth. Edited by Kat Muscat, this collection of stories provided insight and a perspective into lives and experience of refugees and migrant writers. A smashing new website made its way into the world, dynamically created by the eternally gifted Connor Thomas O'Brien. The Scribe Nonfiction Prize, so wonderfully launched last year, sees Oliver Moll's books soon to be published. I would like to thank all the organisations whose funding has helped make our projects and programming possible. Thank you to Arts Victoria, Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation, the Australia Council and the City of Melbourne. I would also like to make mention of the Copyright Agency Limited for their kind sponsorship of the Young Writers Innovation Prize and the News Conference. In the coming year, who can believe 2015 is nearly upon us? I cannot. I can't really, it's December, guys. In 2015, we hit two major milestones in the 100th edition of Voiceworks and 30th year of Express Media. We no longer would be eligible to contribute to ourselves. We look forward to your help, looking forward to you helping us celebrate these two big milestones. Express Media will continue to provide the best opportunities for young writers to be published and the best resources to help young writers develop. If you are a young writer, please consider contributing to all of our many publications and projects. Take the leap and send your work in, and you could be on this stage next year. We encourage those of you who can no longer contribute because you've aged out to support young writers by encouraging them to get involved and by reading our great publications. Tonight is an opportunity to honour and celebrate the achievements of just a few of the exceptional writers and contributors of this year. But let's enjoy this evening. So thank you very much. I'm also going to take a moment to talk about Joe Tui. When I joined Express Media Board in 2011, Joe had been the CEO of Express Media for a little under a year. I can remember being incredibly impressed by his thoroughness, his passion and his quiet confidence. He's a pretty impressive guy, and I feel very fortunate to have been on the board during his time as CEO. Under his leadership, Express Media was able to secure triennial funding as an emerging key org from the Australia Council and numerous other grants and partnerships that have made a significant impact on every facet of Express Media's programming. It is that in mind that we honour him this evening with this award of acknowledgement for his considerable contributions to Express Media. Joe, can you come up here, please? Do I have to hum or do something musical now? Steve is going to come up as well.
Yeah, maybe you say something, Joe, because I'm not ready yet.
Wow. Okay, I was just saying to somebody up the back before that it was really nice to come to the awards and just watch, having left Express Media. Sorry, I'm quite moved by this. I think this award category was an idea that I had originally. That this wasn't quite what I had in mind. I got so much more out of Express Media than I felt like I contributed to it. So to get an award for that feels like I'm kind of ripping you off a little bit. But I guess by way of payment, having had from me to Express Media, having spent a year or so away from Express Media now, I've had a chance to kind of reflect about what it was about the organisation I love so much. And I was thinking about, in primary school I was a really smart kid, and I can say that because in high school I was a really dumb kid. And one of the effects of being a dumb kid was that I stopped reading in high school, and that's a really terrible thing to do. And it wasn't because it wasn't because my parents wanted me to be a dumb kid. You know, my parents were really encouraging. It wasn't because my teachers wanted me to be dumb and stop reading. They were really encouraging as well. It was because for some reason or another, me and my friends got it in our heads that it was cool to sort of go down that road. And I think what was missing, I guess, was the peer support, and that's the thing about Express Media I think is so critically important. I think that when I think about my time at Express Media and the fact that the writing that I read from young writers while I was here was always the writing that you did for yourselves was always amazing, but the way that you supported each other was inspirational. And so I'll take that, I guess, away from Express Media as much as anything else, and think about that when I look upon this award, which I guarantee will get prominent place somewhere in my life. So thank you very much, everybody.
It begins. I've got here, it says good evening, but that feels really formal. I'm kind of the person that says hi. I just wanted to thank Ben and Adele for a great introduction. I'd also like to pay my respects to the people of the Kulin Nation, who are not only the traditional custodians of this land, but also the traditional storytellers, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. My name is Steve Lamartina, and I'm the General Manager of Express Media. It still feels weird to say that, even though it's almost been a year and a half. In some ways, I still feel very new, but perhaps it's because in a young and dynamic organisation such as Express, the only constant is change, as Adele also pointed out. Now, you may have noticed that tonight's event is pretty pink, and I assumed I was all set with my salmon shirt, but it turns out it's actually more of a beige, especially when seen next to all this fuchsia. I guess things always look different when they're hanging up in the wardrobe. I do have an aggressively pink t-shirt, though, underneath. I just wanted to point this out because I wouldn't want you to think that I haven't made an effort, even though I'm usually the one to go as a ghost to most Halloween parties. Anyway, getting back to change. This year has been no exception. We've had a new Voiceworks team come on board with the addition of Elizabeth Flux as a new editor and Connor Thomas O'Brien as our new designer. We've also recently changed the size of Voiceworks so that it now fits in your bag. Oh, and the current one can also be used as a light source, but more on that later. We've welcomed a few new festivals into our Buzzcuts family, such as MIF and Sydney Fringe. We've also welcomed another little published bundle of joy, Dialect, which is our collection of stories by young writers from diverse cultural backgrounds, the successful product of our Global Express program. Our most recent change has been the departure of Leafa Singleton-Norton, who's been an amazing creative producer and an indispensable cog in the wonderful and crazy machine that is Express Media, since all the way back in 2011. I thank you for all the work you've done and all the writers you've helped get published. Where is Leafa? Somewhere. Oh, all the way back there. Leafa's departure led to significant opening for a new creative producer at Express, and I'm pleased to welcome Fiona Dunn to the team, who will be starting with us next week. Well, kind of today, so yeah. We're so excited to have Fiona. Her enthusiasm for the role and passion for developing young writers shines through. She even moved down from sunny Sydney. Thank you to our patron, John Marsden, for his continued support and for being here tonight, as well as Fiona Hazard, who's come down from Hachette up in Sydney. And also thanks to Scribe for donating all of these books for the awards tonight, some of which are now on the floor. I'll also like to thank RMIT for generously supporting the awards tonight. Thanks also to all the young writers who've been able to make it tonight, as well as contributing to Express throughout 2014. Tonight's awards are all about you guys, and showcasing the extraordinary talent that lies within young Australian writers and artists across the country. Just to give you a bit of scope, we've published more than 500 pieces of writing by young Australians this year. We've had over 650 submissions for our prizes from every state, and we've also given editorial feedback to hundreds of young writers. This last point is all due to the hard work of our amazing volunteer Voiceworks editorial committee and the tireless commitment of Elizabeth Flux, our amazing Voiceworks editor. I won't go on about all the projects that we run. Adele mentioned a few of our fantastic ones from 2014. We'd probably be here all night if we mentioned each one. But it did give me great pleasure to launch our State Reps program this year. We had 4 amazing volunteers from NT, SA and New South Wales. One of them was so amazing, she's now a creative producer. These volunteers not only made connections with local arts organisations, but also ran events such as Voiceworks launches and workshops. We really value their time, effort and passion, and I see this program as an important step in allowing young writers and artists everywhere to be made aware of the opportunities that we have on offer for them. I'm really excited about expanding this project to even more states next year. We're also gearing up for a year of celebrations, as Adele mentioned. We're turning 30, which means I'll be the same age for 6 months. And also the release of our 100th issue of Voiceworks. It's going to be an exciting time, and I can't wait to party with everyone who's been a part of this organisation and the publication since the mid-80s. I really need to thank our hardworking intern team who have been essential throughout the year. Most of them are here tonight, and we really can't do this without you guys. You've all gone above and beyond to make life a little easier for such a tightly stretched organisation. I'd especially like to mention Alexander Gamboa for all his help behind the scenes in getting these awards together. Thanks, Alex. You've been a great help over the last few weeks. Before I go, I know I've mentioned Liz a couple of times already, but before I pass over to launch the new issue of Voiceworks, I just want to thank her for the countless hours she spent, not only working on the magazine, but also keeping me sane throughout the year. I really appreciate it. So that's all from me. I'll now pass you on to Liz Flux to launch Voiceworks 99 Plastic. Enjoy the evening, buy a copy of Voiceworks after the awards, and I hope to see some of you at Bella Union afterwards.
Hello, I'm very glad that my back is to these books because I can't emotionally deal with them being on the floor. Hello, my name is Elizabeth Flux. I'm the editor of Voiceworks magazine. That's the first thing I want you to know about me. The second thing is that my house has very high ceilings and no ladders. So that means when the light in the corridor between the front room and the kitchen blew out, no one replaced it. If it was just a regular straightforward corridor, it wouldn't be an issue. However, this particular stretch of our house is less of a corridor and more of a gauntlet. Starts with 3 steep stairs going down, then suddenly veers left. And if you over-veer, you trip over and usually land somewhat into a bin. So, for the past few months, I've been using my phone to see in the dark. I hold it out in front of me like Indiana Jones if he had a smartphone. Unless my battery is dead, in which case I navigate myself into a wall due to not having a sense of direction. Phones are fallible, light bulbs are fallible, but now I don't need to worry about that because I've got Voiceworks Plastic. It's an issue featuring ink so bright it's pretty much its own light source. Like, you've had it shown to you, but I'm going to do it again because that's not doing it justice. But yeah. So Plastic is our 99th issue and our second in the new format, and I'm incredibly proud of everyone involved with it. It's too full of great content to mention everything individually, so I guess you'll just have to buy one. I'm sorry. And perhaps some sunglasses. I hear Ben's renting his out for 50 cents after the ceremony, so you have to discover this for yourself. The fiction ranges from television repairman who is slipping into obscurity to old injuries reappearing, and it'll make you think twice about smiling at strangers on a train ever again. The non-fiction touches on family, earthquakes, utopia, and Gonzo from the Muppets, and the poetry jumps from shipwrecks to pregnancy to the nature of dreams. And while I am slipping dangerously into the mentioning everything individually category, we also do have some brilliant visual art, and we also have 2 amazing comics. I'd also like to mention that we only have 2 comics. There's not 2 amazing comics and a mediocre one. We wouldn't have a magazine without our contributors, and I am constantly impressed by both the originality and the quality of the submissions we get. However, the submissions would remain just that, submissions, though perhaps soaked quite thoroughly in my tears if it weren't for our editorial committee, who work constantly and quietly in pretty much all areas of the magazine. EdCom help to read the submissions, they work one-on-one with writers, and they help with feedback to unsuccessful submissions. They even help make these tassels tonight, so... They are there every Monday, and they spend their own time around work and study commitments to polish pieces and give advice. So I don't feel they get enough attention, so I want to just name all of them today, everyone who's helped out this year on EdCom. So that's Alan Whedon, Brodie Carmody, Kathy Tran, Chloe Brian, I'm so sorry, Claire Nashar, Finbar Neal, Fiona Lyon, Francis Thompson, Izzy Roberts-Orr, Jeremy Poxon, Kimberly Thompson, Laura Woollett, Lucy Adams, Michelle Lee, Raphael S.W., Sean Watson, Susie Anderson, Vince Rustin, and Zenobia Frost for everything they've done this year. Plastic is an issue I'm very excited about for a lot of reasons. Not only is it the 99th, for the first time since I've been editor, this issue features an equal amount of non-fiction pieces to fiction pieces, which is something that I, in particular, am very happy about. It also includes the winners of the John Marsden Prize, which means that I've been showing people the issues so they can see how great it looks, and then aggressively snatching it back from them, saying, but you can't look at the winners until the awards. So you can find that out tonight. Then they walk away bumping into walls because their eyes can no longer take in anything because pink. So you might think I'm exaggerating colour. We did when our printer looked at us and said, it's very pink. You know it's very pink. And we were like, yes, we all know what pink is. Then we received the final copies, which glowed radioactively through their box, which is a lie. And Connor, our designer, picked it up and said, I don't understand how the ink is this bright. It doesn't make sense. Unfortunately, now we have to match this standard, so I have it on good authority that we will actually be making the next issue out of the sun. I can't emphasize enough how good this issue is, and I am excited for people to actually be able to look through all of the pages at the end of tonight, where they'll be for sale in the corner. Did I mention you can buy one? So it is now my pleasure to introduce our two readers from the issue. First up is Vince Rustin reading their poem Abattoir, who will then be followed by Nina Kellis reading her non-fiction piece, All We Need Is a Knife. So could you all welcome Vince, please?
I am painted red. The stain reeks like perfume, a sack full of blood and cells and eggs. The sterility of the clinic reminds me of dying. Elevator doors open and the gloom descends like a white sheet. I am shaking hands and weak knees, fingernails clinging to wrists, pressing red half-moons into skin. Stepping slowly out of the elevator's metal teeth emerges a shrunken husk of a girl. I watch her stumble ankle over ankle like a foal, wide eyes darting around her skull for ways out. We are delivered together into the doctor's cold machine hands, and we become one again, or two to become one again.
This story is called All We Need Is a Knife, A Perfect Society. We all know how little we really need to survive. Everything that makes up our lives is actually superfluous to life itself. The existence of automated foot corn removers and electronic salt and pepper grinders are brutal proof of this fact. A perfect world, a utopia, would be free of material possessions. What do we really need to function and be happy? What can we spare? Firstly, do away with your homes. They're more trouble than they're worth. Do away with your clothes. Now there is no way to measure status or taste. Now, roam around in the rubble of burnt down and abandoned houses, naked, and search for food. Utopia has begun. You must now shave off all your hair, too high maintenance, unnecessary to spiritual being. Now you have no means through which to express yourself superficially and must rely solely upon what you do and say. Utopia complete. But a problem arises. The bald and naked citizens of Utopia struggle to remove bark from trees in order to make temporary shelters. Wild animals have also begun to eat the Utopians. A spanner has been thrown at the food chain. A simple solution: we must carry knives. Knives to strip bark, slice apples, see figure 1, fend off dingoes, slay cattle, and shave our hair off as it grows. Bald, naked, knife-carrying citizens now roam the smoking skeletons of revolutionized cities, eating whatever runs as they approach and sleeping under the stars, or if raining, rudimentary bark shelters. Utopia restored. Another problem arises. The men and women of Utopia grow tired of carrying their knives. Complaints include the development of blisters on hands from continuous knife grasping. When gangs place their knives down to eat, confusion occurs upon the termination of the meal concerning whose knife is whose. Fights then erupt over knife ownership, often resulting in stabbing. Additionally, if knife is misplaced during course of day, many utopians complain of being eaten before sunset. Of course, in a possessionless, classless society, there is no leader. However, one particular charismatic male defines himself from the others by strategic thinking, fighting skills, and the size of his knife. The utopians now appear to follow him around and polish his knife on command. The man solves the annoying problem of knifeship, declaring, "Thou shalt have knife pouches." He orders the nimble-fingered women to fashion pouches from leather harvested from domestic animals. Meanwhile, the men sit about and polish their knives, while the women weave sewing thread from their own severed ponytails. The pouches are finished and dispersed. Leather belts from which the pouched knives hang are rapidly made a standard of living. Some utopians begin to express themselves through their pouches. See Figure 2. Hierarchy is soon established according to who has the better knife pouch. Presentation, durability, quality of leather, and decorative embellishments are all taken into account. Those lesser pouched find themselves cleaning the bark shelters and repairing the growing possessions of the pouchful in return for meagre rations. The pouchless become outcast, then invisible, living in high-density bark shelter compounds on the outskirts of utopia and stealing grain from rat holes to survive. The belts become bigger until they cover the genitals like a skirt. People begin to feel exposed and shameful when not wearing the belt/skirts. Reports emerge of utopians misplacing skirts and grasping for fig leaves. It soon becomes apparent that the charismatic utopian, who everyone follows around, is the leader, and he has a different pouch for every day of the week, each one twice as decorative as the average citizen's. His greed and dislocation from society angers the serfs. The disenchanted masses riot. The man once seen as a father is revealed as a tyrant. He and his family are secretly executed in an underground chamber. It takes a ridiculous amount of time to kill them, though, as they are wearing so many high-quality knife pouches. Tyrant is replaced by a representative committee, and the pouches are rationed in an egalitarian manner. Meanwhile, the function of the pouch continues to grow. They become bigger, more decorative, and cover more of the body. The committee tries to suppress this anti-utopian behaviour. Is this what we were fighting for when we burnt down our houses and cut off our hair, comrades? Field courts are established, and those who question the committee or possess too flamboyant a knife pouch are either exiled to Western Australia or sentenced to death. Those who refuse to renounce their belief in self-expression via knife pouch and continue to worship the great god of pouch are thrown to the lions. An enormous and beautiful circular structure is built by the pouchless and unpaid underclass to accommodate this ritual. See Figure 3. One man now represents the committee, and he sits in a great big chair sectioned off from the thousands of cheering spectators which fill the giant circular building as the pouch martyrs are thrown to the lions. As time progresses, however, the mainstream adopts the beliefs of the martyrs anyway. Pouches have now expanded to cover the whole body and become known as clothes. People build houses in which to keep their clothes and then work 9 to 5 to pay off their homes, waiting for their 2 weeks of annual leave, when they'll parade their pouches about the town. Churches are built to worship the great god of pouch, and then roads to connect the churches to the houses. While the church violently divides into different factions over minute terminological differences, the electronic salt and pepper grinder is reinvented. Utopia over. Evidently, if a perfect, possessionless, classless world is to exist, we simply cannot carry knives.
So I hate to follow that with a raffle, but that's what we're going to do. So we've got 2 prizes tonight. The person who usually wins the moat vouchers has been sent to Japan, so it should be okay tonight. All right, so I'm just going to draw them. This is for the book pack. So it's Brody. Brody Carmody, come up for your book pack. Whoop, which way? That way. I don't know. Well, it would be embarrassing if you win the other one too. And this one's for the Moat voucher for $100. Brody, do you want to... All right. Oh my God. Yeah, they're all here. I will take you out for a meal at Moat. We will go for one. Maddie, G15. She's coming. But I'll come down to her. Are there any mathematicians around? How likely was that? Because there's more than 4 in here.
We used to live together too,
Sorry, since Liz called my attention to...
There's also a crane.
Yeah, I know. You're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. I blame the crane for the book clearly wants to be on the floor. It's fine. It's a floor book. Thank you to everyone who just spoke, Liz and everyone, and for that shocking glimpse into the future of the People's Republic of Brunswick, which I'm sure is coming. You know, I used to think that was a joke, but actually, I've lived in Brunswick for 8 years now, and we really do call it that. And yet, we still failed to elect a Green. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's not make it political. So what we're going to move on to now is the first category of the Express Media Awards, and the first category includes all the awards for publications and things published in publications. And Express Media publishes lots of publications. You might have guessed what the noun would be in that sentence from the verb, but never mind. The publications from Express Media include a diverse range of things, not only in terms of the content and type of writing, but also in the medium on which they are published. And I said earlier that my first introduction to Express Media was Voiceworks. That's actually a lie, which I would like to recant. My first exposure to Express Media was, in fact, Buzzcuts, which is a review publication which has taken both an online form in terms of writing, but also audio reviews as well. And I was once, I did a show which was reviewed in Buzzcuts quite favourably, but I couldn't use the best sort of vox pop from one of the audience members because embarrassingly it was my girlfriend at the time and it just didn't feel right. After we split up though, I used it all the time, so it was fine. So there's Buzzcuts, there's Voiceworks, which we've already alluded to, the current issue of which has an amazing glow-in-the-light cover. You don't even have to take it into the darkness before it blinds you. And that is full, I will just say briefly, it's full of some amazing pieces that Liz didn't even touch on. I love that there is a piece about Gonzo in there, because Gonzo is one of my favourite Muppets. And I say one of advisedly because I have a rule in life, which is that if someone can name one single favourite Muppet, they cannot be trusted. There's too many good Muppets, guys. Seriously, Gonzo's up there, but can't be just Gonzo. But also, there's some amazing fiction, non-fiction. I'll mention some of that a bit later. Other publications include The Underage, which is basically an online version of the Junior Gazette, which is a reference that no one working on it will understand. So what it is it's a youth newspaper online published and written by school students. The Signal Express, which covers arts, entertainment and culture in journalistic form for writers aged between 13 and 18. And as mentioned earlier this evening, Dialect, which is a collaborative work published this year featuring a diverse group of writers who are migrants and refugees telling their own stories. So with that in mind, a great diverse range of publications, I'd like to welcome to the stage to present these awards Benjamin Riley, the coordinator of The Underage, and Courtney Hocking, coordinator of the Signal Express.
Hi.
Hello. I'm pretty excited by Animal Farm with Knives. I think it's going to be awesome. I wish we had an award for that, but instead, Our first category is the best review in an express media publication. And we have 5 finalists. The first one, Matthew Sims for The Pillow Man. The second, Verity Johnson for Bear Attack. Eric Butler, Tom at the Farm. Michael Nguyen Hin, Skeleton Twins. And Ineke Mules for Sam Simmons' Death of a Salesman. And the winner of Best Review in an Express Media Publication is Matthew Sims for The Pillow Man. Buzz cuts.
Always need to make things much higher. The next category, thanks Courtney, is for Best News Article or Interview in an Express Media Publication. And the finalists are Sarah Jacks for Are Young Australians Really Abandoning Democracy? Claire Myers for Young Women Politically Disengaged by Low Numbers of Women in Parliament. Dylan Bruce for Happy Hounds and Humans at the Casterton Kelpie Muster. Emma Ferris for Muck Up Day Isn't What It Used to Be. Olivia Hurley for Our Misguided and Problematic Concepts of Gender, and Francesca Villani for Fashion, A Mind of Its Own by Francesca Villani. And we have 2 winners in this category. So the first one is Dylan Bruce for Happy Hounds and Humans at the Casterton Kelpie Muster. And the second winner is Olivia Hurley for Our Misguided and Problematic Concepts of Gender.
The next category is for Best Visual Art in an Express Media Publication. The finalists are Michael Hadding for The Burbs, Sarah Sujin for Spirit, Erica Williams, Heartstrings, Ashley Ronning, Gummy Hands, and Cameron Baker for Plastic Cup. And again, for this category, we have 2 winners. The first is Erica Williams for Heartstrings, Voiceworks number 98. And the second, Cameron Baker, Plastic Cup for Voiceworks 99, Plastic.
The next category is for Best Comic in an Express Media Publication. The finalists are Finbar Neal for 1-2, Lucy Adams and Murray Adams for Feeder, Chris Gooch for The Chase, Georgina Chatterton for Wrapped in Plastic, and Madeline Kurritz for Small Stories. And the winner of this category is, it's a pair, Lucy Adams and Murray Adams for Feeder.
The next category is for Best Poem in an Express Media Publication. Nupur Jaiwal, The Touch of Ice. Emmy Ray, I Am My Own Person. Sarah Ginny Maxwell, Map of a Body. Alicia Bugg, Sweet Thing. Brodie Carmody, Common Language. And Michelle Allen, Biography Without Commas. And the winner is Emmy Ray, I Am My Own Person, Standing on a Concrete by a Family of Fallen Plants, Voiceworks number 96. Emmy isn't here tonight, but we'll put her certificate and her book aside for her.
This works, I think, having 2 different microphone heights. We'll just keep doing that. The next category is Best Fiction Piece in an Express Media Publication. The finalists are Jessica Yu for Kekut, Sean Watson for Off Season, Elizabeth Kuiper for Snow in Africa, Paul De La Rosa for A Lost Boy, and Jeremy Clark for The Analog Signal. And again, we have 2 winners in this category. Jessica Yu for Kekut. And the second winner is Elizabeth Kuiper for Snow in Africa. And again, Elizabeth couldn't make it, so we will pass that award along.
And our final category is for Best Non-Fiction in an Express Media Publication. And there are only 3 finalists in this. Katarina Bryant for Block Psychology, Sam Robertson, Inpo Maibi is Nothing, Andrew Connor, Save the Princess, Murder the Princess. And the winner is Sam Robertson for Inpo Maibi is Nothing, Voiceworks number 97. Sam is actually going to present a PowerPoint from his winning entry tonight. So if you could please make him very welcome. Thank you. Smooth.
I'll just read a small extract because I'm a pretty slow reader. It's a story about forgotten school reports, and I don't really know how to pronounce the title either. But my best guess is Impmabai is Nothing. I recently discovered my student profile from Mrs. Ogden's Year 1 and 2 composite class at Highgate Junior Primary School. As I read the scrapbook of class exercises and teacher comments, I remembered the sting of a spelling bee and feeling physically ill in mathematics. The front cover has a drawing of a football player in an Essendon jumper. This is inexplicable, as I've always passionately barracked for the Adelaide Crows. And 1997 was a year in which Adelaide won the AFL Premiership. On the inside cover is a class photograph. I'm the short, blonde, chubby-cheeked kid in the front row. The student profile is organised in sections: English, Maths, Chinese, my feelings about learning, and 1997 review. For English, I describe my Term 1 holiday. I went to the zoo and went to Puzzle Park, and I went on every ride and I jumped in the balls, and I like cars the best, and I went to see All Bogs Go to Heaven too, and we got a big packet of twisties. Overleaf, Mrs. Ogden had written the words that I'd confused: zoo, puzzle, jump, like, dogs, heaven, packet, and twisties. I had to repeat each incorrect word 3 times. In the end, I mastered 5 of the 8. However, puzzle, liked, and dogs required further practice. In maths, I made a Christmas toy catalogue. It involved cutting and pasting your favourite toys into a booklet, repricing each toy, and completing sums with the new prices. Sam's Fantastic Toy Shock had supper soakers and gamdoys, skakdords and Tamagotchis. Everything you could ever hope for under the tree. The most expensive toy was a Sony PlayStation, $1. The cheapest toy was Dr. Dreadful Brain Juice, 50 cents. The sums were mostly correct, but the numbers, like the letters, were reflected in a mirror. 9s were P's, and 3s and 4s were back to front. Below my large, ungainly scrawl, Mrs. Ogden commented, in perfect printed handwriting, "Sam still needs to practice the correct formation of his numerals." Given that I hadn't exactly mastered English, I didn't like my chances in Chinese. But we studied McDonald's, a topic I knew well. The teacher justified the questionable subject matter by explaining, the reason this was chosen is because many of the words are transliterations from English into Chinese. Hence, Coca-Cola, for example, becomes Kikul Kila, and the similarity makes it easier for children to remember. I confidently outlined the strange symbols for Kikul Kila and Han Bao Bao, and the colouring in was mostly within the lines. I ordered different meals of different sizes with a please and thank you. Unable to spell basic English, I could nonetheless order Maccas in 2 languages. A gold star said, "Way to go." Feelings about learning were conveyed through drawings of facial expressions. Reading, writing, science and playtime all had smiley faces. Maths appeared ill, which was probably related to an overconsumption of chocolate in Smarty Chance data. What is the probability that each packet has the same number of Smarties? Unlikely. What is the probability that each packet has the same number of each colour? Unlikely. Check your answers with other groups before, double underline, before you eat the Smarties. Unlikely. In the final section, 1997 review, there were a series of questions. The first was multiple choice. I remember school and class rules all the time, sometimes, or I need reminders. There's a faint but perceptible mark around all the time, which has been rubbed out and replaced with sometimes. What do you feel you have learned achieved this term? I learnt how to write hard words. In what areas do you need more help? Spelling very hard words. And I especially worked hard to improve words like impossible.
And now you have to listen to us, suckers. All right, so we're presenting the prize categories for Best New Project in each state.
Woo.
Ta-da! All right. Best New Project by a young person or young people in each state. First up, New South Wales and the Australian Capital Territory. And the winner is the Sydney Story Factory, the home project. They're not here tonight, but we'll keep their certificate and make sure that they get shipped a book. But just so you guys know a bit more about them, the Sydney Story Factory is a not-for-profit creative writing centre for young people in Redfern. Programs are aimed at marginalised young people, particularly those from Indigenous or non-English speaking backgrounds, to help them create stories with the support of trained volunteer tutors. The Home Project was a year-long community writing project that concluded with the launch of Home, mapping the stories of Redfern in September this year. Their latest book is a collection of stories, memories, poems and anecdotes about living in the Redfern area, now and in the past.
Also highly commended in this category was the Wollongong Writers Festival. Woo! Claps, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have South Australia. And the winner is Comics with Friends and Strangers. Comics with Friends and Strangers is a gathering of like-minded folk in Adelaide who enjoy drawing comics or want to start. The group meets up on the third Monday of each month at Tooth and Nail Gallery for treats, chats, sketches and fun activities. Woo! And I think they have a video to play.
Breaking news, we have a video.
Woo! Multimedia.
Together we run Comics with Friends and Strangers.
A comics drawing night that we hold on the third Monday of every month.
At the wonderful Tooth and Nail Gallery Studio Warehouse Collaborative Workspace.
We can't thank them enough for their support and help.
We're really super excited to be nominated for this award.
And even more excited to have won it.
Yay.
We'd love to have been there in person to accept the award.
But unfortunately, we're trapped in this computer.
So if you're ever in Adelaide on the third Monday of any month and you come...
Yeah. We don't need to advertise here. Like, they're Melbourne people.
I just wanted to come.
They've got squish face. You're sounding neat, guy. Okay, bye, thanks.
Also highly commended in this category, the South Australian Writers Centre for the Dub Neom Young Editors Project.
Next up, the Northern Territory. And the winner is the Red Dirt Poetry Festival. Round of applause, please. They also can't make it tonight, but sad face.
This is the problem with interstate prizes.
How dare they not travel 600 kilometres to Melbourne. But we'll make sure that they get the certificate. But just so you know a bit about them, the Red Dirt Poetry Festival is a 3-day spoken word celebration in Alice Springs run by the festival director, Laurie May. This year's inaugural festival brought together poets and spoken word artists from all over Australia and overseas to create a new chapter in the artistic scene in Alice Springs. That's lovely. Round of applause again, please.
Okay, next up we have Western Australia. It's a hell of a state. It's my state of origin. There we
Woo.
go. Woo!
Yeah.
And the winner is Feel English for the Seizure Roundup. So the Roundup is a fortnightly newsletter established by Feel English that includes information about opportunities for young writers. It is posted online through Seizure's website, which was launched in January this year. And I believe we have a clip.
Hello, Melbourne. As someone may have said, my name is Phil. I'm from Perth, Western Australia. I'm very, very happy to be receiving this award via video and technology. I guess I didn't really expect anything. I didn't expect any awards coming from the newsletter. It's a very, very nice piece of news that came and hit my inbox earlier this week. I didn't actually pitch the newsletter at first to David Henley at Seizure. I first pitched a podcast and he said, I don't know how that's going to work, especially because I pitched it for flash fiction. But he said he did have a newsletter that he would like to get sent out and to write content for that. So that's how I ended up there. So I guess the lesson learned from that would be pitch until you can't pitch no more. I guess thank you very much to Steve and to Express Media. Thank you very much to Dave for taking me up, and Alice, who is the editor-in-chief over there at Seizure Online. If you want to receive my newsletter, go to seizureonline.com and sign up. It's very, very easy. So thank you very much again. And I guess my final message is to Jojo, if you're there in the audience, which you probably are. I still haven't forgiven you for not coming and playing board games with me when I was at PAX. So I'm coming again next year, so you better be there. All right? Yeah, thank you. Bye.
And he was wearing a science t-shirt, so double points. Next up, Victoria. Hooray. And the winner is Madeline Dorr for Extraordinary Routines. Woohoo! Round of applause, please. I think they're here. Come on stage. And while they're doing that, a little bit about Madeline Dorr. She's the curator and editor of Extraordinary Routines, an interview project founded this year. Her online magazine is dedicated to discovering the daily routines of artists, writers, designers, creators, creatives, entrepreneurs and innovators. So another round of applause. And also just a quick mention to highly commended in this category, and that was Right Now for their essay series. Woohoo!
Woo! Okay, next up we have Queensland, and the winner is Scummag for their 2 a.m. project. Woo! 2 a.m. was a project presented by Scum magazine over the course of the Emerging Writers Festival this year. Each night of the festival at 2 a.m, Scum posted a piece by a different writer, either written or set at 2 a.m, resulting in a series of works held together by temporality. Well done.
Another book, it's okay. It's all right. You can rest easy, Liz. It's okay.
And finally, we have Tasmania.
And the winner is Twitch. Twitch is a group established by the Tasmanian Writers Centre that brings young writers together. Founded by Leslie Harm and Robbie Arnott in 2012, Twitch organises meetings and events to support emerging Tasmanian writers and helps vitalise their writing practices. So round of applause for them. Do we have Leslie? Yes.
Oh God,
we do.
The thing is wrong.
All right, I get a book as well. Hooray.
I actually work for Scribes.
Do you?
Tassie got cool. How weird is that?
And another round of applause. Are we done?
Wait, it's over, guys.
Oh,
okay,
it's
but
over.
not the whole thing, just us.
No.
So now we're going to pass on to Alexander and Verity to present the next awards.
Woohoo.
Hi everyone, I'm Alexander, the Awards and Special Projects intern, and this is V, who is the Marketing and Communications intern. And we will be presenting the most innovative new project by a young person or young people. And the winner is Duncan Felton and Finn Abel for the Grapple Annual. So just a little blurb about what it is. Grapple is a new calendar-based anthology which was launched at this year's National Young Writers Festival in a flurry of lycra and literal grappling. It is edited by Duncan Felton and designed by Finn Abel. With a limited print run, each copy tells you exactly which one of the 365 it is. And Duncan and Finba have been nice enough to provide us with a video. Oh, and the contributors will be accepting the award on their behalf. Come on up, guys. Yep. Guys, you forgot your book. There you go.
Hey everybody there in the Wheeler Centre. Hope you're all having a smashing evening. Well, thank you so much for this award. We are absolutely stoked. I am pretty bummed that I can't be there in person, but fortunately Sian and Georgia, two of the wonderful contributors to the Grapple Annual, will be accepting the award for us. First, thanks to Express Media, who really are just awesome. Even beyond this award, I have got so much to thank them for. Thanks to whoever nominated Grapple and to the judges who chose us out of all the other great projects. Special thanks to Finbar Neal. Without him, I'd still be clicking on buttons in InDesign, trying to work out how to align my first paragraph or something. Finn took the material and the ideas I had for the annual and made them about a bajillion times better, and totally impressed me and everyone, I think. He is a wizard, and this award goes to him too. Also thanks to Lucy Nelson, whose editorial assistance was fantastic. She convinced me that starting a style sheet was probably a good idea, and her wisdom and her support were invaluable, so this award belongs to her too. Thanks to everyone who submitted and the 40 contributors we worked with who made the annual. They're all lovely and patient and talented, so thanks to all of them. And thanks to everyone else who supported us, whether you're part of development, promotion, came to our launches, if you cheered Finn and I on as we wrestled in leotards at Tina, or if you bought an annual already. So the Grapple Annual has been an idea slowly brewing ever since I was on the Voiceworks EdCom back in 2010, and it's been just over a year since we first called for submissions. So it's been a long time coming, but now it's a real date-based anthology of all sorts of good stuff, and we're really proud of it. So now we're working on number 2, submission details on our website, and we're just about to announce our expanded editorial team. So things are on the grow, but we're just getting started. And it's incredibly encouraging to be recognised by such an important organisation with such an amazing award. So I'll hand back over to Georgia and Sian to accept the award and to add any final words. But thanks once again, and have an awesome night, everybody.
Okay, our next award for tonight is Outstanding Achievement by a Young Writer or Editor Under 30. And we're very excited to announce that the winner is Steph Walker. Is she present? Woo. Oh, that's cool, yeah. I'll just tell you a little bit more about her. Steph Walker is the media officer at Flinders University Student Association, and she's also a mentor and editor with a real wealth of experience across student media and publications. She edited On D in 2009, wrote an honours thesis in media and creative nonfiction, and has been involved in almost innumerable student publications both in Australia and in Toronto. And over the past 5 years, she's been passing along her knowledge to upcoming student editors. So Steph can't be with us tonight, but we'll just call up Elizabeth Flux to read something she wrote for the awards.
Hi, I'm not Steph Walker, but she has emailed me something to read on her behalf. So just imagine me as Steph, like you're imagining Steph now. That's who this is. All right. When I found out I had won this category, I immediately emailed Steve and asked if he had the wrong email address. Clerical errors can be made, but Steve assured me it was true, and I very sincerely accept this award. I picked my university based on a single encounter with an academic who told me to do media. This professor was kind to me for a few minutes and told me to write for On D, the student magazine at Adelaide University. I read each issue with a passion, but I wasn't ready to tell them I was a person who existed. I wrote for the film section without anyone knowing me in real life. I subsequently became the sub-editor of the film section, all without meeting the cool kids. In 2008, I moved to Toronto to study abroad. I worked on student publications while abroad. There were 19 publications at the University of Toronto. Please pause here, because 19 is insane. And the academic credit, financial payment, and internships with Rolling Stone should be mentioned, as they don't exist in Australia. After 3 years of writing and sub-editing, I thought maybe I could edit. Maybe. And luckily after VSU, this role, this dream, was uncontested. In 2009, I became an editor of On D. Each morning, that same professor who was nice to me at open day would walk past and say they'd hope to see me in class. Each evening she would walk past. When I got to the 24-hour mark in the office, she knew I wouldn't be in class. I got a vitamin D deficiency and glandular fever that year, without realizing. I failed assignments with notes on the side that said, "You're focusing on extracurricular too much. This is a fail in media theory." It was, and I'll never regret it. I learned more in that year than I had in my entire degree. Professor Ros Prosser encouraged me to write my honours thesis on student publications in Australia, looking at the impact of VSU at On D and its before and after story. I wrote an honours thesis in media creative nonfiction, and I painted myself into a weird, beautiful corner. Ros became the supervisor of a woman who has never considered herself a writer or an editor, but simply loves finding platforms for emerging talents to jump from. This year, I am published in a companion to the Australian media. This became part of my ethos. Leave everything a little bit better than how you found it. Write or no one can read about it, so I write. Over the last 5 years, I've followed editors of student publications. Each year I speak at News, a conference for editors. I take notes on what the new editors ask and what they needed to know. Each year, editors seeking advice on university union inadequacies, student politicians, and content have contacted me. I'm no kingpin. I'm just some shy nerd who is overwhelmed by the kindness of a handful of people. Watching editors and writers year in, year out succeed and share this experience is amazing. Being a small part of that process is its own reward. I don't know who's in attendance tonight, but maybe raise your hand if you've been involved with student publications. Please tell those who have raised their hands that there is a prize under their seat. There isn't, but there probably should be. I think they're great. If the start of this weird career was started by one kind professor, it has been followed by Leafa Singleton Norton, who has been so vibrantly supportive and exceptionally kind to this shy nerd that has altered me as a person. I have watched her each year grant new editors the same kindness she originally extended to me. So Leafa's here. She's at the back. Still at the back. As a side note to this story, I now work at a university. Oh, sorry, I said it wrong. There was an exclamation mark. I now work at a university. I'm literally the man that I battled against as a student, except this position is rare, and if any of you study or work at a university, maybe ask if there could be a human person that could help your editors have enough space to do their thing without fear of being censored, being fired unjustly. Maybe they too could have a policy or constitution. Please pay attention to student publications and the way they are treated. Like a magic eye, if you look long enough, you'll find something wonderful. Okay, so Steph, in her sense of humour, has also added a note to me at the bottom that said, "Can you please take a photo with your phone for me so I can live through you?" So that's what this is. Oh, it's a selfie mode, right? It's not what we want. All right, let's do it this way. So, think Steph's thoughts. All right, we're done.
Yep, I'm back. All right. I'm here to present just one award now. There was originally two, but I'll talk about that in a second. So the award that I am going to be presenting is the Outstanding Contribution by an Express Media Volunteer. And the winner of this category is Sarah Dunstan from Western Australia. Woo. I think she's here. She's here. Sarah's been volunteering for Express Media now for a number of years. She's always put her hand up to help out with anything Perth-based, such as Voiceworks launches and editing our Perth Fringe World Buzzcuts contributors. There's also a bunch of things that Sarah's done that I'm not even aware of, as she's been with Express for longer than I have. She's basically been our lifeline in Western Australia, and we're so happy to have someone so passionate about what we do, spreading the word over there. I'm pleased to welcome her here tonight. The next section was supposed to be the ongoing contribution to Express Media, but because we like Joe Toohey so much, we did it right at the start. But I did want to say something because basically, well, I'll just read what I wrote. Joe, who's now known as the old Steve, is one of the most generous people that I've met. Yeah, that joke is still not old. This has been shown to me through his ongoing support by picking up the phone and not hanging up on me whenever I need to ask stupid questions. He went out of his way to make my introduction to Express Media as smooth as it could possibly be, and I'm super thankful for that. Oh, and, well, this doesn't work now because he's not getting up. But I was going to say, get ready, guys, because Joe has some dad jokes up his sleeve. So now, well, I'm not giving him the water, I'm just going to get back to Ben.
Thanks, the new Joe. I didn't see that one. Someone had to do a dad joke. Might as well be me. Now, we're going to get to the prize for non-fiction, the Scribe Nonfiction Prize. But I just want to talk about non-fiction briefly because it's a type of writing very close to my heart, not least of which because it's the only kind of writing I've ever had published. But I think it's such a wonderful art form that does not always get the recognition that it deserves. Fiction and poetry and comics are all wonderful, and journalism is its own kind of thing. But non-fiction, writing a piece to engage people about a topic that is factual, I think is a completely different skill. It's all about being able to be as engaging as fiction, being able to be as engaging as someone who is allowed to make up whatever they want, but with the important and often frustrating constraint of having to be factually accurate. And in fact, my favourite so far, I should say, I haven't read everything in the new Voiceworks, but one of my favourite pieces so far is definitely Block Psychology by Katarina Bryant, which I recommend you read, which is all about Lego collecting. And I'd like to out myself here as an AFOL, which is an adult fan of Lego. That's a real thing. You can read more about it in the article. I am not much of a collector because, I'm a freelance artist. I can't afford Lego. But what I've learned through this article is that, in fact, maybe I can afford Lego because there is a thriving underground market black market in Lego, stolen Lego. And this piece is a great insight into why people collect Lego, and the thing I love about nonfiction so much is that you learn something, and often you read it and you never thought even that such a topic existed, let alone that someone could write about it so brilliantly and engagingly. So I'm a big fan of nonfiction, and I'm very pleased that I get to introduce this prize. But I am not presenting the prize. Someone else is presenting the prize. So let me introduce them as I load up their bio so I don't make any mistakes. The presenter will be Henry Rosenblum, who began his publishing career as the first full-time editor of the student newspaper Farrago at Melbourne University. A publication, by the way, which some years later would go on to find notoriety as the first ever publication to review one of my shows. Again, that's not the most important thing tonight, but all my anecdotes are about me. The interesting thing about that review is that the reviewer was reviewing two plays at once, and to be honest, the only thing we could really discern from the review was that they hated our play less than the other one. But they singled me out, so I've always felt good about it. Anyway, Henry Rosenblum has been a book printer, a freelance journalist, a book reviewer, and an occasional newspaper op-ed and feature writer, and he's the founder and publisher of Scribe. Please welcome Henry Rosenblum.
Thanks very much. It's a terrific pleasure to be here again. This is the second year of the Scribe Nonfiction Prize for Young Writers. As some of you might know, it's a developmental award for a writer aged 30 or under who's working on a long-form non-fiction work in any genre, including things such as biography, memoir, cultural criticism, travel writing and history. We run this obviously in conjunction with our partners, Express Media, and we're very gratified this year to see the prize grow and to generate, again, some excellent entries. There was a very strong shortlist this year. The people on that shortlist were Rebecca Harkins-Cross, Sam Twyford-Moore, Sian Campbell, Sam George Allen, Patrick Lenton, Ros Bellamy and Robbie Arnott. The range and diversity of topics was very impressive. All of us really enjoyed reading the range of submissions and debating the merits of each. I want to thank the judges and the organisers from Express Media, Leifa Singleton-Norton, Steve Lamartina, Kat Muscat and Emily Laidlaw. I should explain perhaps that the Express Media people produced a long list, and then an editorial team at Scribe whittled that down to a short list. And we then went through, I think, a very thorough and exhaustive process. I joined the editorial team at that stage, and we went through every one of the shortlisted entries. We discussed them all very thoroughly, and we proceeded to vote each off the island until there was only one entry left. And the editorial team I'm talking about, they know who they are, is David, Marika, Leslie and Julia. And Julia especially, I want to thank, who puts an enormous amount of effort into this. So I'd like now to announce the winner of Scribe's Nonfiction Prize for 2014. It's Robbie Arnott. Can I just say, as Robbie's approaching, just so that you can get a feeling for what the judges thought. This is slow motion, Robbie, fast motion, Robbie. G'day. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
One of our judges said that it was a structurally smart way of writing about difficult to approach topics such as violence, weapons and gender, and it had a particularly strong, memorable and distinctively Australian ending. Another one of our judges, Julia, has described it as a personal essay that was visceral and evocative, that explores ideas around growing up in a society where a fascination with violence is essentially encouraged, particularly among boys. It's a poignant and topical piece that engages with a wider debate about the role of weapons in contemporary Australian society. And in concluding, might I just point out to you that there were joint winners last year. One of them was Oliver Mole, and that ended up as a book project, which we're publishing next year. The other joint winner was Bryony Doyle, and we're discussing a book project with her. That's not an intrinsic part of this award, but that's the nicest possible outcome. I can't hold out that as a promise, Robbie, but let's hope. Thanks very much. Robbie Arnott.
Thank you very much, Henry. And Ben, how awesome is Lego? I have this awesome Lego pirate ship at home, and my girlfriend keeps taking the princess that's been captured and replacing the captain with the princess and putting the captain in the net. And she's like, "Yeah, bring down the patriarchy." And I'm kind of like okay with that because it's pretty cool. Thank you so much for this award. Sorry, I just got off a plane from Tasmania and I'm all sweaty because it's like 30 degrees warmer here than it is there. Thank you so much to Express Media and to everyone here for providing such an amazing organisation for young writers. I didn't know anything about you guys until I was like 19 and I discovered Voiceworks, and then it's kind of like hearing something go click and realising, crap, there are other people like me. It was so good to learn. And thank you so much to Scribe Publications as well for having such an amazing opportunity made available. And thank you for liking my work. I still can't quite believe it. Did anyone else see the shortlist and how freaking awesome it is? They're all great. I actually only know one guy on the shortlist. I know Sam Twyford-Moore a little bit, and if you know him, he's so brilliant and talented. And when I saw my name was next to him, I was like, sweet, I'm done. That's awesome. But then I just Google stalked all the other people. You don't know me, but I totally was all up in your internet. And they're all amazing too. Like, I just made a cup of tea and I looked at Rebecca Harkins-Cross's website, and then I saw how much stuff she's had published and how talented she is, and I just spat Dilma all over myself. And then And I kept Google stalking, and I looked up Sam George Allen and Sean Campbell, and they've made their own magazine. Oh, Jesus Christ, that was awesome. And the magazine's really good. So yeah, then I was like, sweet, I'm just going to nap. I'm just glad I'm on the shortlist. So, and the other two, everyone else was fantastic as well. So I still can't quite believe this. So I'm just going to say I'm very, very honoured, and thank you very much. And I'm going to sit back down now. Thank you.
Yeah, Lego is awesome. Well said. Well said. Actually, now I have to share one more fact from this article. It's so good. Read it. Did you know that soon, if not already, there are more Lego minifigures in the world than there are actual people? In 2019, that will happen. 4 years, and then they will take over. And we all know they're going to win in a war, because when we step on their broken bodies, it's going to really hurt. When they step on our broken bodies, they won't even notice. Oh, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. All right, so we come to the last set of awards for the evening. These awards are for fiction and poetry. I know I just talked a whole bunch about how much I love non-fiction as a type of writing, but fiction and poetry are an incredibly rewarding and difficult art form, and anyone who can write those well, as every contributor who ends up in Voiceworks or any express media publication can, is to be commended, because the closest I can come to writing fiction is scripts. And that's easy. You just take out everything except the things people say and let everyone else figure out what happens by looking or listening at what you've written. So it's kind of cheating. It's fiction that's cheating. Because I don't have to describe anything. I give that job to someone else. The last thing I wrote was an audio drama, and so I just had to write the dialogue, and I gave the job of doing all of the special effects, the scenery, the costumes, the expressions, the movement, and everything else to our poor sound guy. So I cheated pretty hard. And if you can write fiction, my hat goes off to you, because you do all of those things with words, as well as telling me the thoughts and expressions and words of the characters on the page. So I'm impressed, is what I'm trying to say. Now, the John Marsden Hachette Australia Prize for young writers is a set of different prizes for fiction and poetry. There's categories for writers 18 and under, and also aged between 18 and 24. It's judged by our award patron, the renowned author John Marsden, and made possible through the generosity of John and a new award sponsor for this award, Australian publishers Hachette. Now, I'd like to welcome the publishing director of Hachette, Fiona Hazard, to say a few words about the award.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone. It's a fantastic evening so far. Congratulations to everyone. So I'm absolutely delighted that this year is our first association with Express Media and with John to be part of this award. So thanks to the new Joe, the old Joe, the new Steve, the old Steve, for having us on board with this. So we're absolutely delighted to be here to recognise some stellar Australian young literary talent. My colleagues and I at Hachette are committed to helping develop and encourage young Australian writers. So when the chance to be a part of this award came up, we were absolutely thrilled to be asked. We've taught and encouraged emerging writers for a long time through the Express Media team. So we know, you're regarded as a premier organisation. Not so easy as making the decision to be part of the award was actually deciding on the winners of the night. And John, I know, worked very hard alongside one of my colleagues, Vanessa Radnage, and the team at Express Media to come up with the shortlist. So on that note, I wanted to congratulate everyone who had entered and all those that are shortlisted. We know that it takes courage to sit down and look at that blank page and actually start writing. However, conquering that terror and being brave enough to sit alone and create is a wonderful thing. So congratulations to everyone who's been brave enough to do that. That's how a writer hones their craft and gets better. So tonight we want to acknowledge that effort and encourage the talent of all the writers that are here tonight and who are part of the Express Media team. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome John to the stage and let the awards begin.
Wow, thanks, Fiona. It's a bit slow getting up here. I said to Fiona earlier that I feel like a 95-year-old who needs a hip replacement, but it's a result of a broken leg. And in fact, when I got here, someone said to me, how did you break your leg? And I said, I didn't break it. It was broken for me by our two dogs who got very tangled up in each other in a rather grotesque way and then fell on top of me. But it's a long story, but actually a very boring story. When someone asked me how I'd broken it, I said, all I'll say is I'll never parachute with a dog in my arms again. And because I felt it was incumbent upon me as a writer to embellish what had happened. And they looked at me with such horror that I thought I'd better not go down that path. I'd better stick to something more literal. It's been a pleasure to be here tonight once again and to hear such wonderful speeches apart from anything else. There have been such witty and delightful and extraordinary statements and comments made. And I was particularly struck also by the names of some of the best new projects that were nominated and which won awards from different states. Words like grapple, twitch, seizure, scum. It sounded like the clinical notes of a diagnostician on some particularly troubling patient, but it was... I like that kind of vibrant language and the energy in those words and the way in which they do communicate something very exciting about the kind of projects that people are engaged upon. I wanted to introduce, though, a kind of sad note into the proceedings by saying a few words about my nephew, William Alexander, who died a couple of months ago at the age of 21, and who worked in the Victorian Writers' Centre as a volunteer for a time, and who had a passion for writing, a great love for writing, and extraordinary skill in writing, and I have no doubt would have had a wonderful career. And I wanted to just remind, I guess, people who write that it is a perilous career. It's a perilous path, and in many ways it has all kinds of dangers for us, partly because it's quite an isolating career in many ways for most people who engage with it. And it's also because I think it attracts people who are sensitive, who have, in the memorable words of a psychoanalyst I was talking to once, one skin too few. And for people like that, life is difficult and complex, and it is often people like that who are most likely to write or to express themselves powerfully in other creative media. And so I just wanted to say, when you find yourself in that dark and despairing place which you will inevitably occupy at some stages of your writing career, then it is important to take care of yourself during those times and to reach out to people and to let people know that you're really doing it hard and that you're really in trouble, and to make sure that you keep connecting with people and letting them understand just what your position is, what your situation is. So I know I would have loved to have seen William up here one day, and I'm sure he would have been, because he had such extraordinary potential and great skills, and the world is much the poorer for his passing, as it is for anyone who's engaged in expressing themselves creatively as such a passionate and major part of their lives. I also want to talk about some of the wonderful things tonight. The fact that such a fine publisher as Hachette has now sponsored this award, and I know, having been closely involved with Hachette for quite a while now, what an honourable organisation or company it is. And I think one of the things that sometimes happens in writing is that there's almost a kind of belief that we imbibe with our mother's milk, that somehow publishers and authors should be at war with each other, and that publishers are waiting to pounce in a predatory fashion on writers and to rip them off. I'm getting a little nervous here, but in fact, the opposite has been my experience, that Australian publishers have, pretty much without exception in my writing career, acted honourably at all times and have shown great integrity. And I know people do have bad experiences with publishers. I've had a few shockers with British publishers in particular. And but I think my worst Australian experience was with my first publisher, who replaced the word fucking in my first book, where the protagonist says, "I'm sick of this fucking homework," with the word damned, so that she then said, "I'm sick of this damned homework," which was a word which grated so uncomfortably on me, but which I didn't know was in the book until I received my first author copies. And that's probably the worst treatment I've ever had from a publisher in Australia, which I guess is not too bad on the scale of things. So yeah, there's a lot to appreciate. I also wanted to mention, as I did last year, that a previous winner of this award, Kiralee Barker, known as K.A. Barker, had a contract with a major publisher for the book that this is going to be a very convoluted and clumsy sentence, so I'll start again. The short story award is for a short story, but can also be for the first chapter of a novel. And some years ago, Kiralee Barker entered the first chapter of her novel in this competition and won it. And as a result of that, came to the attention of one of Australia's biggest publishers, who have now published her book this year. And so I kind of indicated last year that was imminent, and the book is now out. It's called The Book of Days. It's a wonderful fantasy novel, which is quite fresh, quite different, so lively and engaging and witty that I recommend you all read it. So, as Henry has indicated earlier, these awards can lead directly to the kind of outcome that we all hope for as writers. And so it's another reason for being delighted that companies like Hachette have come on board to sponsor these awards tonight. So we now should move to the really important part of the program, and that is the actual awards themselves. So would you like to start?
So in the over 18 short story category, we have a highly commended, which is Laura Stortenbecker for Steady. Laura's not actually here this evening, so we will accept that on her behalf. Okay, and the winner of the over 18 short story collection is Laura Elizabeth Woollett for Soybeans. And Laura is here, and she's coming up.
And the under 18 short story competition, again, we had, in fact, highly commended, in fact, two highly commended entries. And one was for the story Good Neighbours by Alessandra Prenuto. Alessandra. Also highly commended was Lucy McCulloch's At the Top of My Lungs, but Lucy was not able to be here tonight. And the winner of the under 18 short story was Sky Moore for her story The Moon. Sky. Oh yeah, it's a bit complicated, isn't it?
Okay, moving into the poetry category. We have got 3 highly commendeds in this category and 1 winner. So the first highly commended from the Northern Territories is Fiona Line for Exile. Unfortunately, none of our highly commendeds or winners in this category are here, so I'll plough through them. From Queensland, Isabel Pryor for After the Service, also highly commended. From New South Wales, June Tang for Inheritance. And the winner from Victoria is Jeremy Tiao for On the Immobility of the Orogenic.
I know I had to look up the word orogenic when I was reading the poem, but the winners in this category were very elegant and beautiful poems. But Isabel Pryor's After the Service was quite a traditional Australian poem, but both Vanessa and I, who were judging the shortlist, were really struck by the quality of the work in this section and indeed in all the sections. So coming now to the last award of the night, the under-18 poetry, and highly commended from Tasmania is Michael Hutch for his poem 2 Weeks. And the winner of the under-18 poetry from New South Wales, Eunice Andrada for Nightfall Reprise. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Eunice, I think, are you going to read for us? Yes, she's going to come back. So on behalf of John and I, thank you so much, and we'll hand over to Eunice.
The day after the bomb kissed us awake. Our fathers tripped over sinews of open book chests, but could not find the answer for all the pages torn from their spines. The day after the walls howled in defeat, the sound broke through each benumbed cage of flesh. We watched the crimson seep into midnight's bloodshot skylines. The day the IV drips quit pumping the rhythm of broken ankle dance halls into veins, every day was some hypothermic dream where the sun would forget to make its bed for days at a time. We could not look up for all of its glorious undress. Tonight, we undress for the wrong eyes. The day after you followed the wrong eyes, for they could bleed into the right songs. Your fingernails were catacombs where scraps of vinyl were entombed. Your evenings began to play like arthritic phonographs. The day after the prophet sang back to the kerosene, his insides burst holy watered ache. The streetwalkers resorted to beachcombing crime scenes, carving bodies from their concrete outlines to string into seashell bracelets. The day after the dandelions were raised, their seeds ground to gunpowder. The ring of faraway hopes confined us to our oyster shell homes, drowning in pilgrim sweat till we sweat shined back into the iridescence of our pearly stupor. Still, it was harder to subdue the alarm clocks in our wrists. The day after the dictator's head crumbled to the cobblestone, we stopped believing in hideous ends for hideous hearts. Instead realized the descent can't be hollow if we shatter with such thunder. The day after we vowed to stay inside, we wintered within the other, never dressing for the weather. Still the children's books could laugh at sense, and we could sleep through the tearing. Still, all we wanted was to be cut free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eunice. And can we please keep that applause going just for a moment and thank everyone who came up tonight. All of the finalists, all of the winners, all our presenters. Of course, the sponsors of the awards are Scribe, Hachette and John Marsden, and of course everyone who works for or with Express Media. Thank you all. It's been a wonderful night. I hope you've all had a good time. The good time, of course, continues in at least two ways. More if you're imaginative, which, given the audience, you probably are. But the two ways I'd like to enumerate for you are, first of all, you can now purchase a copy of issue 99 of Voiceworks theme Plastic. There are pink lights, so you can, adjust yourself to the glow that will come from the pages. So stare into those for a little while before you look at the magazine and you'll be fine. But also, the other way that the fun will continue is the official after party for this, which just happens to be the Scum Magazine Christmas party. titled A Very Scummy Christmas, which is happening at the Bella Union Bar at Trades Hall, just up the road on the corner of Victoria and Lygon Streets. That's starting at 8:30. The organisers of Express Media and everyone here would love to see you there. But thank you so much for coming along, and good evening.